theme that the three of us had in common before this draft is after we watched all these quarterbacks and we went through watching all the throws and all of that, we were all three of us were big Justin Fields fans. And, Jason and I both really wanted Justin Fields to be a Niners quarterback. Sam actually really wanted Justin Fields to go to the Jets.
So, it didn't happen, but
yeah. So let's talk about Justin Fields for just a little bit. I know Niners fans don't want to hear about Justin Fields. He's now old news, but just let's talk about what we think, how he thinks he's going to be on the Bears, and what we think of him going 11, and just everything about it. Sam, I'm going to kick it to you first.
Well, I think similar to what I said with Shanahan, it puts a lot of pressure on Nagy. I mean, he has to, he had all the excuses in the book with Trubisky, but now he has his guy. They traded up a lot for him. Now you got to perform. I think coming in there, Justin Fields is a perfect fit for what they want to do. I think he's really good off boot. I mean, he's the most accurate quarterback in college football in a very long time. He's really good off boot action, out of the pocket, very good. In the pocket, he's really good too. I mean, I think it'll be hard for Nagy, to make it as bad as he made the Trubisky situation.
Yeah, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, bittersweet, man. Honestly, yeah, look, I made no bones about it. I wanted Justin Fields bad. Like every day I was tweeting about him. That was my prediction for it. But, I'm more than happy with Trey Lance. So when I started my quarterback process, I started with Trey Lance and I fell in love with Trey Lance right away. When I finally got to the end of it was when I was like, oh my God, Justin Fields, right? And for all the things that Sam just talked about. In the pocket, being able to pick defenses apart when you give them time, rocket arm, 4.4 speed. And then the last thing that I really thought that was going to make Kyle Shanahan fall in love with him was the toughness. You crack your ribs and then you go and you throw 5 more tutties in that game, and you beat the Golden Boy, like that type of stuff. After Kyle Shanahan watched quarterback after quarterback, his whole team basically just waste away with injuries, it had to, I thought it would entice him a little bit to look at Justin Fields and say, look at this kid, he's going to come right back out here and play. Let's just say that the kid is huge and everything as well. But as far as like his impact with the Bears, the biggest winner of this entire, of this entire pick, not Matt Nagy, not Ryan Pace, Allen Robinson. I'm happy for you, bro. You're finally going to have a quarterback who's going to throw you the ball. So if you guys thought Allen Robinson was good before, now imagine a quarterback who's going to be super accurate with him with the ball. He's already a 50-50 catch guy. He's already somebody who just gets himself open all the time. Any reason that he never had numbers wasn't because the quarterback, wasn't because of anything other than the quarterback either not seeing him or not getting the ball anywhere near him. So Allen Robinson, I'm happy for you. But this is the type of move that had to be made from them, right? You have one more year, basically. This is it. This is why I don't really understand why anybody is saying that Andy Dalton's going to start. I'm not certain that Matt Nagy is going to have rope to do 1 or 2 years. If they want to give him the 2-year thing, okay, maybe. But this feels like a swing for the fence. We're going to get Justin Fields, and if he wows this year, I get to keep my job, and so does Ryan Pace. So I love it, especially when you think about where he was at 11, and when you hear the Denver Broncos say, we like Justin Fields, but we like Pat Surtain more. Was just like one of the most baffling things I've ever heard in like my entire life, honestly. I get the fact that you have Locke and you have Bridgewater, but are you telling me that you liked a potential franchise quarterback, and you took a corner instead? I don't know about that one, honestly, unless you disagree. Again, Vish, I mean, I know you probably got a disagreement with it, but man, I don't know if you can. I don't know.
Remember the news, yeah, Jason? Do you remember the big news 1 hour before the draft? And do you remember which team was allegedly close?
So you think that they're still in on Rodgers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's fine. If that's the case, then I'll take back everything that I said there. If they think that's the case, but for you to come out and say, yeah, we like Justin Fields, but we like Pat Surtain better. I don't know if I would have framed it that way because that sounds bad, honestly, when you think about what's being said. So, look, what he's going to do for the Bears is this is probably the best quarterback coming out of college that they've had ever. I mean, I don't even think it's close, honestly. So, I mean, it's going to bring a lot of excitement to them. And, again, if Matt Nagy can't get it done with him, with Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and, Montgomery, Cones, Tariq Cohen's still there. Yeah, Graham. No, Cole Kmet. My dynasty shares need Cole Kmet to finally happen. Jimmy Graham, go away. It's done. No, but honestly, there's weapons there. They can get it done. Now you get to open up your offense a little bit more. Remember when I talked about him shrinking it down to Trubisky? Now you get to open it up now for Justin Fields now. So Matt Nagy, this is on you, bro. This is a lot of pressure on you. Just like Sam said, if you can't make it work with this kid, you're out of here. And that's why I don't understand why Andy Dalton would start day one.
I'll talk about my quarterback rankings for a second. So
go for it.
Coming in, like pre-2020 season, I watched a lot of Fields, watched a lot of Lance, their 2019 seasons. I thought Fields was better from the start. But I did like Lance. I thought he was really good, but I did think he would need another season just to see like what he can do. And when he didn't have that other season, his one game 2020, his showcase game, not really impressive. 3 interception. I think he only had that's his first one in college, and it wasn't really that worst play, but like he just didn't put it together. He looked nervous. He looked like he needed to like calm down a little bit. Yeah, in the pocket. I mean, he didn't look calm in the pocket at all. He looked like he wanted to showcase or show off a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I thought Fields was better in Lance coming in. Lawrence obviously number 1. And then Zach Wilson came all of a sudden out of nowhere. Did not watch Zach Wilson at all on tape. I'm a USC fan, so I did watch him a little bit against BYU when BYU up 7 in 2019. I didn't really watch the game too much. I think I was busy that day, but I remember seeing score, and I was like, BYU, like Zach, like who's their core, like who's on their team? How did they beat us? And we were ranked at the time. I think we were like in the high 20s. So I remember watching their film, Zach Wilson's film BYU, and he was lights out. I originally had him over Fields and Lance, but once I took a look at Fields again, his 2020 film, went back to 2019, I kind of had Fields still better quarterback. I think all around, I think it higher ceiling. Floor wise, I mean, it's close. I don't like when looking at quarterbacks, it's hard to quantify ceiling and floors because that's not really how you want to look at quarterbacks in the first place. It's just hard. It really has any position too.
I don't.
Yeah.
Not to cut in, but I actually don't get this idea of projecting floor based on NFL readiness because 98% of, if you're a good offensive coordinator, part of your job is to adjust your entire offense to what your quarterback did in college. Like if Matt Nagy brings Justin Fields in and they try to run Andy Reid's 2005 West Coast offense, well then, yeah, Matt Nagy, you deserve to be fired because that's not what you do with Justin Fields. But if you're running, a drive with with smash, you're running a drive to the boundary with smash to the field. That's something he did in college. Do it in the pros. You're running smash to the boundary with 2 digs to the field. Something he did in college. You're running
the amount of research. The amount of research that scouting departments do on these players. I mean, it's obvious they know these things. It's very obvious. They know everything about these quarterbacks. They go to high school. They go even before high school. I mean, they know like as much as you think the media knows about these players. The NFL scouting departments know so much about these players, especially the quarterbacks. I mean, they started scouting. The teams who drafted quarterbacks this year, they started scouting quarterbacks probably like 2-3 years ago. They probably looked at Justin Fields, before he even transferred to Ohio State. I mean, that's something to keep in mind. So back to that. So my final rankings was Lawrence, Fields at 2, Wilson at 3, Lance at 4, and Mac Jones at 5.
Yeah. So just continuing with this, my thoughts of him going to the Bears, my first thought was honestly that this is irresponsible ownership. How can you allow a GM and coach who are on the last year of their contract, who you haven't committed to, sacrifice future assets to go get a player that they might not even be around to coach and handle?
It's desperate.
That's desperate. That's how you screw a player. Like unless you are committing to yourself to Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, how can you allow both of them to make this move? So that was my first takeaway. My next takeaway is my initial thoughts after the drafts was like, wow, like I love Justin Fields before this process and he really got screwed. But then you go back and you look and you watch and I didn't think it was that bad. And I actually think like in terms of Matt Nagy, if he's trying to run a Mahomes-like offense, Justin Fields is probably a good fit. I don't think he's exactly Mahomes. I don't think that the RPO game is exactly what you want to do all the time with Fields.
Like Mahomes.
Right.
It's kind of hard to compare.
And obviously they run a lot of air raid concepts too. And Mahomes, that's straight from college, all of that. But I do think there's a plausible fit. The biggest question for me, and it's going to be with Matt Nagy, and this is going to be the question going forward, is Justin Fields is special in the run game, right? I think we can all agree that that's one of his traits. Like Zach Wilson's a good runner. Trevor Lawrence is a really good runner. But Lance and Fields were by far the best runners, and they were like special. Like they aren't Lamar Jackson, but outside of Lamar, I can't remember 2 guys being this special as just runners in a draft since in the last 10 years. So I do think
you said
like
Fields and Lance.
Yes.
You said Fields and Lance. I mean, you could throw in Lawrence there too.
Yeah, Lawrence and Wilson, to be honest, too. Both all good runners. But
Wilson's, yeah. I mean, in the NFL, Wilson's he can't be trucking guys. Obviously his frame,
because of his size,
but
yeah.
he's much more a twitchy athlete than Fields or
Mhm.
Lance or Lawrence, and that helps the NFL, especially in the pocket. When you're a twitchy athlete as a quarterback in the pocket, you're going to be able to avoid rushers, stuff like that.
Yeah, but the big question for me is, can Matt Nagy utilize that aspect of it? Because one of the things that's been kind of the underrated struggle with Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky is that Matt Nagy has just been unable to find ways to use Mitchell Trubisky's legs. Mitchell Trubisky is a good athlete, and one of the problems that a lot of people have had with the Bears offense over the years is that, and it's one of the problems, again, Sam, this goes right back to you. Adam Gase didn't utilize Sam Darnold's athleticism. And it's kind of the same thing. So that's going to be one thing that will be interesting to see moving forward. Can Matt Nagy really take full advantage of what's a special ability to run with Justin Fields? And then the other thing is, you guys talked about it, and I wanted to hammer it home. Justin Fields is the most gifted quarterback in the history that the Chicago Bears. I'm sorry, Sid Luckman, he is like 40 years before I was even born or conceived or anything. So I can't talk about him. But the quarterbacks, at least I've kind of seen, Jim McMahon, I think Fields is more talented. Jim Harbaugh, who was a first-round pick, I think Fields is definitely more talented. Cade McNown, looking back in the 99 draft, if you go watch college highlights of Cade McNown, you're surprised he even went in the first round. So Fields is definitely more talented. And then Mitchell Trubisky, I think we all agree Fields is more talented.
How dare you disrespect Kyle Orton like that? I'm sorry.
He wasn't a first-round pick. Oh, yeah. But Rex, good point. Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fields is more talented than him, too. So this is by far the most talented quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears. And I think it'll be cool to see, because I think we're all fans of him. We'll all be rooting for the players. I definitely won't be rooting for the Chicago Bears. I promise I won't be rooting for them, but I'll definitely be rooting for the player. And it'll be interesting to see how his career turns out.
100%.
Absolutely. I'm rooting for him, too. Definitely.